Cyclops informs Professor X and Magneto that he has assembled a team for their mission. They understand the stakes and the risk and embrace it. Xavier smiles gently, musing such a brave face Scott is wearing for him, but he can hear the fear in his mind. Is it wrong that he is afraid that he has doubts? Scott asks. Of course not, Xavier assures him. He's always been that way. What matters is that he overcomes it for his family. He makes him so proud. Xavier promises he isn't going to let him die. Magneto adds that the righteous can never die. They live on, transformed into something mighty by their works. For him to die, he would have to be forgotten, and no one forgets the founder of a nation. Cyclops steps through a Krakoan gate and exits on their moon base. Time to go, he addresses the team he has gathered. He summarizes that a group of rogue human scientists calling themselves Orcus is building the ultimate master mold, a mother mold, in orbit around the sun. They have to destroy it before it comes online. And while the mother mold is bad enough, the real danger is that they think it will lead to a technological paradigm shift, a Nimrod. He warns them they are not going to take any Krakoan fauna with them, so there isn't any gateway home. They have to get in and out the old-fashioned way. Archangel and Husk protest about that decision. Monet rolls her eyes at their naivete. They're only thinking about success. What if the Mother Mole got a good hard look at what they're doing on Krakoa? How all of this works? Maybe they'd find something the X-Men haven't. Cyclops agrees that is the reason. He repeats, no plants, and especially targets Mystique. As they enter the ship, Jean asks about the human crew. Cyclops stresses the mission is to stop the Mother Mold, no matter what, but they want to keep casualties as close to zero as possible. There are probably a lot of innocent civilians alongside security. Wolverine points out innocent civilians don't build death machines to kill a species. Jean retorts, they are not soldiers, just scientists afraid for their future. The ship leaves the moon base, and Wolverine has the last word. Just scientists! Ha! How does she think they went from sticks to bombs? Project Achilles, superhuman supermax. Inside, there is a special court hearing taking place. Agent Tolliver informs the judge there is only one case today, but what it lacks in volume, it makes up for in depravity. The defendant is charged with breaking and entering, assault, theft, 2 cases of manslaughter, and if she could add bad manners to the list, she would. The judge asks the defense attorney if he has anything to add before proceedings begin. The clearly frightened man stammers he asks for the case to be dismissed based on the fact that his client was an unwilling participant and had no idea what his companion's plans were. They have the wrong man. The judge calls it a good try, but they are charging his defendant under the new 12-strike rule, which supersedes intent. So, motion denied. How does his client plead? Sabretooth has walked in, handcuffed. He spits on the ground and announces he's guilty. He's definitely got bad manners. And the other charges? The judge asks, annoyed. Sabretooth grins broadly and easily admits to those. It ain't like this place can hold him, and it ain't like he's gonna sit here and let them judge him. Several armed guards train their weapons on him as he asks if they think chains can keep him from turning the judge's insides into his outsides. 'Cause they can't! He suddenly sniffs and asks if they smell that jasmine. Means he is fired, he informs his attorney. Cue for the White Queen to stride in, flanked by 2 Stepford cuckoos. What do they have here? She asks rhetorically. Looks to her like the monkeys are using tools again, playing Civilization. Miss Frost, one of the cuckoos, observes. The White Queen chides her for using her human name in public. Cuckoo apologizes. The judge asks for the meaning of this. Emma arrogantly replies that isn't the question he should be asking, as there is quite a difference between what's going to happen and what it really means. When he asks her to enlighten him, she replies, what's going to happen is that he is going to hand Mr. Creed over to her. Sabretooth, the cuckoo corrects her. Emma agrees and continues that he is going to do this in anticipation of Krakoa becoming a sovereign nation. All Krakoans enjoy diplomatic immunity. A gift from the State Department. The cuckoo adds, they have all the paperwork. But it's totally cool if they leave his chains on, her sister adds, studying Sabretooth nervously. This isn't gonna happen, Tolliver interjects. Emma calmly repeats, it is going to happen! As for what it means, well, it simply means mutants don't answer to them anymore. That thing is a killer, the judge shouts. Just like his mommy made him. Creed grins, and he ain't even close to done. Emma agrees. He's a bit of a monster, but he is their monster. And from this day forward, mutants aren't going to be judged in human courts or by the likes of them. Tulliver trains her gun on Emma, who muses that normally she'd make her stick that gun where her last boyfriend left her. But she's been told the art of diplomacy is about equaling power dynamics. So, why doesn't she pretend that some larger American purpose is being served today, and Emma will pretend that Tulliver could have stopped her? The cuckoos take Sabretooth away. Emma smirks. It's a brave new world. Better get used to it. On the Orchis Forge, Dr. Alia Gregor asks Omega Sentinel if she still thinks what they're doing is a mistake. The other woman replies that self-preservation is completely rational. It's the panic it produces where errors get introduced. She thinks they built a mother mold that breeds master molds. The second they lose control, it's hard not to see the entire planet covered in cold, emotionless grey, with not a single pink, fleshy bit in sight. After all, they know where mutants come from. Fair point, Gregor concedes, and explains that's why they built the control collars. If things go south, the mother mold goes right into the heart of the sun. Omega Sentinel asks, how long until the mother mold wakes up? Gregor replies, they could wake her up now, but even at the exponential rate she is learning, she still has a while before they are comfortable that she has evolved past the Heller Faust line. Gregor's husband, Captain Erasmus Mendel, hails her from the bridge, explaining there is a problem. Incoming! It's a modified Shi'ar class scout ship. Only one possibility of who that is, the X-Men. Flabbergasted. Gregor wonders how the X-Men could know what they are doing. Her husband is more interested in what they are after. The mother mold. Can they stop them? She asks. Not in that bird, he fears. Long range, the X-Men's countermeasures will be too good, and nothing they have will be able to get through that shield. They screwed up. They were expecting to be fully online before catching the X-Men's attention, so now they're going to have to repel them once they have boarded. She wants to join him. He tells her to stay and protect the mother. Omega Sentinel interjects, why don't they just recall the drones from Mercury to defend the station? It explains they did, but they are going to arrive too late. With Gallows humor, he tells his wife to cheer up. It's just a little fight for the survival of the species. Nothing to worry about. In the meantime, he has armed himself. The X-Men have almost arrived. Nightcrawler is to teleport in and scout whether the mother mold ejection collars are in the right places. Kurt complies. When he teleports to Pillar 3, he comes across Dr. Gregor and Karima. What a surprise, he remarks. Karima greets him curtly. Picking sides, are we? He asks pointedly. Actually, that was all of you, wasn't it? She retorts. He teleports away, and Karima announces the X-Men are gonna go for the control collars. Dr. Gregor hails her husband, Erasmus Mendel, and informs him as well, adding they have a teleporter. Mendel replies, he has read Nightcrawler's file. His powers are point-to-point and low yield. So, the X-Men will still have to dock to start a full assault. He's moved most of the forces to the hangar, where they will confront them and hope the drones arrive in time. Omega Sentinel decides that's disappointing. It's a very linear plan for a very non-linear foe. They hear a rumbling noise as the jet lands on the station hub. Cyclops tells the team to extend the breaching collar, while Nightcrawler informs everyone that Omega Sentinel is with the other side. Captain Mendel sees them cutting the hull above him and has all locks shut around him. He hails his wife and informs her they are cutting a hole inside the hull, and from this part, they can access the whole station, so he is sure they have plans. Their only hope is to respond asymmetrically, irrationally even. He begins fiddling with several cables. Panicked, she asks what he's doing. What it takes to build a better world, he announces. Then adds he often joked about it, but he really does wish they'd had kids. He tells her to be strong and not let them win, then presses the button on the explosive he has rigged, and an explosion takes out that part of the station. Krakoa. The whole is staffed by Beast, Storm, Trinary, and the Stepford Cuckoos. Magneto and Xavier, wearing a Cerebro helmet, join them. Xavier asks if they are ready. Beast informs him that they are. Trinary is pooling data from all human resources. Arecibo, a few retasked SETI radio telescopes, and the Dyson Solar Observatory. And while that still leaves them a good 8 light minutes behind, they have someone at hand who can extrapolate that data into an actionable forecast. Xavier commends him and turns to Storm, who still doesn't know how this is going to work.
Communion, he replies.
All 8 of them acting as one. He gives the order to begin. The Stepford Cuckoos link their minds, enabling them to function as one mind. With all of them connected, Xavier can project his thoughts into space to reach Jean Grey, who is in pain. Should they fear the worst? He asks.
Propped up by Monet.
Jean explains that it's bad.
The ship was attacked.
Archangel and Husk are dead.
Nightcrawler has some internal injuries,
And Wolverine is not himself.
she states euphemistically as his left arm's flesh is burnt off, leaving only metal and bone.
Magneto asks if they can complete the mission. Jean hesitates, but is interrupted by Cyclops, who is holding the dead body of his friend, Archangel.
Yes, they can, he announces. Oh, this was all for nothing. Wolverine groans in pain but agrees. They have to finish this, or their enemies will finish them.
Cyclops asks Nightcrawler if he can get them in there. Smiling despite his injuries, Nightcrawler agrees.
Cyclops decides that Jean and Monet will stay behind to maintain their telepathic connection with Krakoa. The rest of them will disengage the Mother Mold's control collars and send that thing to a one-way trip to oblivion. Nightcrawler is to drop them off in each of the sections.
Wolverine takes the one nearest to the security hub. Mystique will take the one connected to the habitat so she can blend in. Nightcrawler and Cyclops will take the remaining 2. Afterwards, Kurt will gather them up and then they'll worry about finding some way out of here.
In a part of the station, Omega Sentinel orders the grieving Dr. Gregor to get up. She stresses she is just an observer here, but if Dr. Gregor lets grief paralyze her, her husband will have died for nothing. Omega's words galvanize her, and she calls the current head of security, Captain Moore. Gregor informs him she is at the habitat, but he needs to send security team to the other 3 callers.
He agrees and adds he already sent 3 security teams to breach and board the mutant vessel. Should he have them stand down?
No,
Gregor begins, but is interrupted by a noise. She asks what that was. Calmly, Omega Sentinel replies, "That was the sound of failure."
the mutants have disengaged 2 of the Mother Mold collars, namely Wolverine in Sector 4, after killing the crew, and Nightcrawler in Sector 2, who simply took the crew out.
Jean and Monet telepathically inform the X-Men on Krakoa that they are halfway there. Xavier warns them the Sentinel drones are going to be there soon. Jean is optimistic, but Monet interrupts her that they have to move. They are being boarded.
She pushes Jean into an escape pod and tells her she will cover her exit.
"She isn't coming?" Jean exclaims. Monet replies, "They have to find someone here or they will immediately start looking for Jean. And Jean has to stay in touch with the team and connected to Krakoa." Jean shouts that without Monet, she won't be able to reach Krakoa. Monet needs to come with her.
The pod closes. She doesn't know what to say. May scoffs. Calling her Marvel Girl.
Try harder. The pod is ejected.
Monet turns to the attackers and turns into the armored, clawed form of Penance, then attacks.
Elsewhere, Cyclops takes out the foes and disengages his control collar. He telepathically asks how Mystique, the last, is doing. She is faced by Dr. Gregor and Omega Sentinel. Before Mystique can react, Gregor presses a button. The door between them closes, an airlock opens and Mystique is sucked into space. Dr. Gregor informs the captain that 3 of the support collars are disabled. She is leaving the one that's still engaged open to space. She hopes this will keep them off until she brings the Mother Mold online. She is told all the remaining support teams are retasked to her aid. Gregor begins the process of bringing the Mother Mold online. Omega Sentinel protests. It is too soon.
They don't know if she's gonna be sane.
Gregor is optimistic and tries to find a point-to-point translocator of AIM design. Omega ventures. Gregor plans to bring the fight to them.
Gregor smiles grimly. Cyclops hears that the Mother Mold is being brought online in 20 seconds. He telepathically tells Jean, who passes the news on to Krakoa.
Xavier tells them to do whatever it takes. 10 seconds to go. Nightcrawler and Wolverine sent a Cyclops that they can get there. He tells them to go. "Is he ready?" Kurt asks. Wolverine asks if he still thinks there is something waiting for them on the other side. Worrying about his soul, Kurt wonders. "Just wondering what someone like him should expect," is the reply.
Kurt grabs his shoulder. When he wakes from this earthly slumber, look for him. He will be there waiting for him, radiant and with open arms.
He teleports him into the Inferno. Nightcrawler is incinerated immediately, but Wolverine holds on. The awakening Mother Mold captures his arm with a wire, asking, if man made her, they are gods and mutants are titans, their spoiled lineage. But while they war, the children sit in judgment of those above. They judge and find them both wanting.
Wolverine manages to sever the last ties of the collar. As the Mother Mold falls into the sun, she asks, "Do you hear us, Olympus?
We have stolen your fire, and with it, we will burn you all." Wolverine too dies.
Bravest man he knew, Cyclops, who watched mutters, then sends to Jean that she is to inform the professor it is done, which she does. Cyclops promises he is coming for her. He has to get an EVA suit in the hangar. He will make his way to her, then use his power to push them into an escape vector. He promises to get her home.
1 moment later, he is shot by Omega Sentinel. She informs him that the nanites will prevent the use of his power.
Through gnashed teeth, he tells her it doesn't matter. They've won.
Capturing him means nothing.
Capture him? Gregor spits.
Her husband is dead. She's not in a mood for taking prisoners.
Cyclops apologizes to Jean. Moments before Dr. Gregor kills him, Jean screams as she senses his death.
Moments later, the Sentinel drones arrive and kill her as well. On Krakoa,
Charles Xavier weeps and vows no more.